This is Kal Yafai, WBA Super Flyweight World Champion, and you're watching True School Sports.
Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
Zorro Exposed by Bivol proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I wanted to talk about, a guy that I haven't had a chance to talk about in a couple of years because he's been gone for a couple of years. And that guy is none other than former WBA Super Flyweight champion himself, Kal Yafai. Now, the last time any of us saw Kal Yafai in a boxing ring was that fateful night in Dallas, Texas, Frisco, Texas to be exact, that Kal Yafai got knocked out and Roman Gonzalez put on an absolute virtuoso masterpiece performance and knocked him out to become WBA Super Flyweight champion. We haven't seen him since then. I remember that. I was there that night. I was ringside that night. I remember that night when I saw Kal. Because I know Kal on a very, very, very minuscule level because I met him in the UK when I was there and I went to his gym and I interviewed him. And we talked on Instagram. Really, really nice guy. Just a lovely person. But, I remember the day before he fought Roman Gonzalez, he said that interview me after the fight or whatever. I was like, okay. So I went and I asked for the interview after the fight, and Kal Yafai was like, I don't really have anything to say. He's a great fighter. I have no excuses, but I don't want to do the interview. I was like, okay. So I haven't seen him since then. We haven't heard from him since then. He had his first fight yesterday since against a Filipino who was 16-5 coming in, named Jerald Paclar. And this was on the undercard of Bivol versus Zorro. And, this is also Kal Yafai's first fight at bantamweight. He's no longer fighting at super flyweight anymore. He's now a bantamweight, so he's at 118, which I think is a good move for him because Inoue is going to fight Paul Butler soon. If Inoue beats Paul Butler, he's probably going to vacate the belts, so the belts will fragment, and Kal Yafai, I think, will have a legitimate chance to become a two-weight world champion and put the finishing touch on what's been a nice career for him. Now, the fight was interesting because it wasn't a smooth fight for Kal. The Filipino Paclar dropped Kal early in the fight. I believe it was might have been the first round. I think it was the first round. He dropped him. And Kal Yafai was in trouble. And he's big trouble. And he had to really, really be on his P's and Q's and not get stopped in his first round back in boxing for almost 2.5 years. And he had one thing I like. What I liked that Kal Yafai did in this fight was he fought in a very he fought in a high guard, but he fought with a concentrated effort to go to the body. There was one shot that was on the belt line. It could have been a low blow. A lot of people thought it was a low blow, and Paclar was kind of like wincing on the canvas, and the referee gave him time. And even though I don't condone low blows, I think in a way it kind of helped him because it kind of stymied the momentum of what the Filipino was trying to do. And, as the fight wore on, Jerald Paclar couldn't really find the magic he had in the early stages of the fight. So Kal just kept banging away on that body, walking him down as the bigger man in the high guard defense. And he won a close decision and he beat him. He beat Jerald Paclar and gets back to winning ways at 118. So it wasn't a smooth fight. It's exactly what I would have expected for a guy who hasn't fought for almost 3 years, and he's got a lot of work to do. But I know in the time that Cal's been off, I believe he had a kid, and he's had time to think and reflect and regain the hunger for boxing. And listen. This is a guy that, albeit I never thought he was like an A+ fighter, this is a guy that has tested himself. I mean, you look at Kal Yafai's career. I mean, Kal Yafai, probably like 25% of his fights, a quarter of his pro fights have been world title fights. I mean, let's see. His professional record is what? What's his professional record? Kal Yafai's record is 26-1. So yesterday was his 27th pro fight. Let me see. Roman Gonzalez is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 out of 27 fights have been world title fights. That's roughly a quarter of his career have been in world title fights. He's made a good amount of defenses. He was a legitimate world champion. So I've always thought that Kal Yafai never got the respect he deserved as champion. I don't think he was a pound for pound guy, and I don't think he needed to be this overhyped fighter. But people, when he got knocked out by Roman Gonzalez, one of the greatest fighters to ever put on boxing gloves, everybody just said he was shit. But I'm old enough to remember when he fought Luis Concepcion for the belt, and he was the underdog, and people didn't think he was going to win, and he beat Luis Concepcion, and then defended it 4 or 5 times, even though I thought he lost to Jerald Gonzalez. But that's another story for another day. Go watch my video on that from the past if you want to hear more about that. But he's a good fighter, and I think there's some good fights out there for him at bantamweight, and I'm gonna kind of like look through the fights at bantamweight for him because I want to see who could he legitimately fight in the bantamweight division moving forward. Now, 118, you got, that's 112. Where's 118 at? 118. So 118, let me see. There's good fights for him. You know, I mean, he could fight a whole lot of guys. There's Takuma Inoue. There's Lawrence Newton, who I like a lot. There's Lee McGregor, who's a British fighter. There's Charlie Edwards. There you go. That's probably the fight that I think Matchroom will go look at. Charlie Edwards, because Charlie Edwards and Kal Yafai have history. They don't like each other. They have some beef from the past, and that was a fight that I talked about on this channel a couple years ago. Like back in 2020, I made a video about that, and that to me I think would make the most sense for Kal. It's a good domestic fight. You could slot it in on an undercard. It's a rivalry fight. The winner of that fight could be in position for a world title. They'll settle the beef and the rivalry, and it'll be a good fight. But either way you cut it up, slice it and dice it, Kal Yafai has some work to do at 118, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that's my review on his fight yesterday against a tough Filipino, Jerald Paclar, who I thought fought a really good fight early on, but just couldn't sustain it. And yeah, so leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Just like Mayweather's uncles would say, a lot of people don't know shit about boxing. You do. You've done it.
Thank you.
You about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody knows shit about boxing.
I appreciate it, man.
I want to say, man, make sure to follow True School Sports, always covering boxing at the highest level, man, and make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel. Follow him on Instagram at Just a Kid from Dania as well.
He the plug.